Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Fetch Quest podcast, where we talk about video games and more. I'm your main host for tonight, Brewer, and I found this cool looking stick. Wonder what it does.
Yo, what's good?
Oh, it's our co-host Connor. Connor, why the hell are you yellow?
Oh, I'm not Connor. I'm Connor's Echo.
Wait, what does that mean?
I'm basically a perfect copy of Connor, and it also means Connor is dead.
Oh, oh,
Yeah, yeah, bro had like the worst Balatro run ever.
oh, damn. Well, I guess that now that you're yellow, we can at least take down Green Lantern pretty easily. Rest in peace. Want to go on an adventure?
Hell yeah, let's do that. I've always wanted to kick a Green Lantern's ass.
Oh yeah. Kicking ass with echoes. And today's topic, everybody, is going to be the Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, 2024's newest Zelda game, where for the first time ever, well, except the CDI games, because we don't talk about those, we are able to play as the person in the title, Zelda, instead of playing as Link. So we're going to be getting into that this episode, what we think is cool about Zelda as a protagonist, how she differs from Link in her gameplay in this new Zelda entry, generally how Echoes of Wisdom differs from other top-down Zeldas as well, because it's been a while since we've had a top-down Zelda, right, Connor?
Yeah, I mean, like if you want to be like facetious, you could be like, "Oh, we had the Link's Awakening remake," but like, like ever the a wholly original top-down Zelda. I think the last one was probably Link Between Worlds, which goated game. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
love that game.
it's been so long since we've gotten a top-down Zelda, and I'm really glad that and my sort of theory is that that's what Link's Awakening was. It was sort of like a experiment to see if people wanted a top-down Zelda again, and
Hmm.
I'm glad that they did that because this game's really good. I really like it. And I think it's nice to see a new top-down Zelda come out and it be so good.
Oh, yeah. I think before we get into any more of that, though, let's just give the audience a basic summary for those who aren't in the know with Echoes of Wisdom. So, in The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, like I said, for the first time, you actually play as Zelda. At the beginning of the game, Link goes missing from this mysterious rift. So, instead of fighting Ganon like you usually do, now you actually are investigating these strange rifts that are popping up over Hyrule as Zelda and trying to figure out what happened to Link and why these rifts are popping up in the first place and how to mend these rifts. So, on this adventure, you have your trusty friend Tri and the funnily named Tri-Rod to help you by creating echoes of about literally just anything you can find in the world. Because instead of swinging at stuff with a sword and shooting shit with a bow, you kind of just let other people do the work for you. You're like a summoner in Terraria.
Yeah. Like actually it's more like a necromancer since in order to get echoes, a lot of times you have to like kill at least the enemy echoes, you have to kill them first.
Oh yeah. Oh wait, how did Connor die?
He he had a very awful Balatro run and
I'm
I
just
think
wondering how bad of a Balatro run was it?
He um he used Black Deck and then he didn't put Blueprint next to Gross Michael.
Shit, yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, he lost like Ante too. It was awful.
That is awful. Absolutely terrible.
Yeah. Um but no, yeah, it is really this is a great game. I think it's great. I obviously have my problems with it, but I really love like the base gameplay of it because it's like I feel because if you were to play as Zelda, like that's what I was wanting if we were to get a Zelda game like something unique that had to deal with magic because like if we just play a Zelda game that's has Zelda as a protagonist but it's just like she has a sword and a shield and it's basically Link, then what's the point? I,
Yeah, well, I think too for how long it's been since we've had a top-down Zelda, like an original one.
mhm.
I feel like it was like absolutely necessary that they kind of change up the formula. And now instead of Link again, we have Zelda with a completely different move set. So like that really helped change things up, especially not just with like how you approach combat, but like also with just how you even approach puzzles in the first place. Which there are some good and bads with that we'll get into later in the episode because I think they did a lot of great stuff with it being more open, similarly to Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. Because this is kind of like top-down Zelda's take on, I guess, maybe the Breath of the Wild format of you can go everywhere. Though it's kind of toned down, which I feel like it needs to be to even function in this
Yeah,
limited space. Though I think in some areas also still need to be toned down a little more.
yeah, but we'll get into that later. But I guess we should sort of explain, I guess, like gameplay and stuff like that. Which I'll do if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, get into it.
So you've got in this game, you've got basic movement. I'm pretty sure Zelda can jump. Um, and you've got all that stuff too. But the main gameplay comes through the use of the tri rod, as we were mentioned before.
Hmm.
And what you essentially are doing is that you, excuse me, you are using the tri rod and to basically meld the world to like how you see fit. So if you see a box, you can copy the box and you have a box echo, and then you can place that box anywhere you want as long as you have enough triangles, which will float behind tri. And different echoes have different requirements for how many triangles you have to use. Like mainly enemies, but yeah, no, if you can really copy like almost everything in the game, like boxes, water, enemies, hell, you can even copy literal clouds.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, no, the sky is literally the limit with what you can copy and use in this game, and I really like that because it makes the gameplay like super unique, especially when it comes to stuff like dungeons and bosses and combat and stuff like that. Because you really are just like a necromancer, like you summon enemies from beyond the grave to go and do your dirty work. It's
Yeah.
like
That as well, like you couldn't get as creative with Tears of the Kingdom with like let's say just constructs and like elements and stuff, but you could also like bring up flamethrowers. You could use like big wind turbines to like kind of push enemies into pits. Like that's what I would do a lot of times. I would summon like basically I guess like a wind based echo, push a lot of enemies off. You could summon water too to like drown a lot of enemies, that or even like grab fish out of water to to make them suffocate. Like it's great.
that's amazing. Um, yeah, no, at Nintendo, they recently released a ad for Echoes of Wisdom, and the only reason I'm bringing this up is because it's so adorable. Like all of the marketing for this game was just adorable. Like I remember there was this one like animated one where Zelda tries to encounter like an enemy, but then she like runs away and summons an Echo to do that. And
Yeah,
then and
like
and
I kind of like Zelda's personality. Now Zelda's
yeah,
personality is drawn to me a little more in Link's, especially like Link, especially in top-down Zelda. Like he has some facial expressions in Tears of the Kingdom and whatnot, but he has always just kind of been like stoic, silent. You know.
I wish we okay. I kind of wish we would get like Skyward Sword level of expression for Link back.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I'm talking about. Like he doesn't say words in that game, but like whenever he's near a character like like Groose, like he'll be making some wild facial expressions.
anytime I like bring up like like I want those facial expressions back. Every time it's that one frame of where it was like where Link is looking up and Groose is I think falling onto him, and he just
Yeah,
and he's like, oh.
yeah. When are they gonna put Groose in a top-down Zelda game?
I
If
know we
in the
need.
sequel to Echoes of Wisdom, they better have that. I want the Groose Echo.
I want
The Groose will always be loose if we can always summon him.
let's go. The Groose is loose.
Yeah,
The reason I
but
bring back ad is because it's done with puppets, and it's like the super adorable like small puppet animation, and like please go like try and find it. I think they probably posted it on YouTube somewhere,
mhm,
or but I know I saw it on Twitter. It is such an adorable
yeah.
little animation.
Oh yeah. Well, I think Echoes of Wisdom, like Link's Awakening, was the most recent top-down Zelda, if even if we're counting remakes. And Echoes of Wisdom followed suit with its new art style, and I really like the art style, like the kind of toy look. Like it's it's really adorable with like, and I feel like they did a good job stepping up in Echoes of Wisdom, because whereas Link's Awakening they kind of kept it more like stiff. to like still keep to it being a remake. Echoes of Wisdom, they fully went in and just like upgraded the art style
Yeah.
with all the models, the animations for a lot of the faces as well. Like they got really cartoony with a lot of them. That and I like a lot of the characters that like at moments where they like instead of like moving in between frames with like just flowing animation, they'll like it'll literally be like 2 frames that like pop back and forth to to show they're like kind of jumping around, stuff like that. I really like.
Yeah, I think this game has so much charm to it, whether it be through like its art style or like a good example I like to bring up is the fact that the king's right hand, like it's sort of like right hand people are called left and right.
Yeah, very
it,
creative.
I like it took me a while to like it like clicked after a while, and I was like, wait, their names are left and right. That's amazing. Like I just think that's so funny.
Yeah, they do have some fun personalities too. General Wright is like he's kind of a lovable idiot type of character.
He's a himbo at heart.
Yeah, but he's a good bimbo,
Yeah.
like Groose, who needs to show up in the next game.
So we can have the Groose be loose.
Oh yeah, yeah. Again, I love the facial expressions on all the characters, especially Zelda. Like she's very well animated in this game. Like if she's in a hot environment, similar to like the newer 3D Zelda entries. Like if she's in a hot environment, you'll see her sweat a little and wave her hand back and forth to try to cool down a little. If she's in a cold area, she's gonna shiver some. Like
Yeah.
just little touches like that really help. That or even like when you make smoothies as well, if you like make a dog shit smoothie, sort of like the dubious food in Tears of the Kingdom, she's gonna look absolutely disgusted with it and be like, dude, what the fuck, what did I make?
What the fuck are you making me?
Why would I cook monster guts with salt? What is that? What did you expect?
It's the fucking Gordon Ramsay. Like that's what she's like. Like, what are you, an idiot sandwich?
Yeah, well, it is good she's the protagonist because she would actually say some stuff compared to Link. Because
Yeah.
Link in this entry of Echoes of Wisdom as well, canonically actually has a reason he cannot talk. Like he wants to, but like he physically cannot.
He is literally going through I have no mouth and I must scream right now.
Yeah, literally. Poor Link. Poor Link. He goes through some stuff,
He
especially
fell,
in this game.
he fell through a rift to Fortnite and then he lost his voice. Bro is going through the thick of it.
Bro had the worst Balatro run of his life.
True. You think that's what he was doing the entire time he was stuck in the
Yeah. He finally got a negative rarity Joker, and it was on Gross Michael in a broken one turn.
that's yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But moving off Balatro jokes.
Something I really want to talk about is the dungeons in this game.
Ooh,
I
yeah, dungeons are gonna be a hot point for us.
Yeah, I like a good amount of the dungeons in this game. Like excuse me, I really like the Zora one. I think the Zora one's like, um, it has such a cool concept, and like I love the like design of it. I also really like I like both the Gerudo and the Hebra dungeons as well. I think those are great.
Yeah, I think my favorite one though had to be the dungeon that was associated with the Deku Scrubs and like the Farron Wasteland. That was probably my favorite one.
I don't really remember that one too well, and I think it was because I was really pissed off at the Deku Scrubs for putting me in fucking prison.
Yeah, no, the Deku Scrubs are kind of idiots, but it's okay. It's okay. They're not as charming as an idiot as like maybe General Wright or even the manly Groose, but you know it's fine.
Yeah.
At the very least, they're a lot. You can just kind of stick them in the ground.
What if Bruce was in this game, but he was disguised as the stamp guy?
Stamp Guy is maybe rivaling the charm of Groose.
That's the new game theory episode. Is Bruce the stamp guy?
He wears red. Groose's hair is red. Maybe he's hiding
He
something.
also comes from the sky. Where does Bruce come from? The sky.
What game
So
was he in? Skyward Sword.
And what can you use in this game? A sword. Because you pick up Link's sword and you can transform into a spirit version of Link and kick ass.
And what could you play Skyward Sword on? Yes,
The,
the Wii, but also the Wii U, which
and
had
Switch.
Miiverse, which had stamps, which means Stamp Guy is real, and
And
the Groose is loose.
and you can also play it Skyward Sword on the Switch. What system is Echoes of Wisdom on? The Switch. Coincidence? I think not.
It all comes back together, all back to Groose.
I feel like we're Charlie Day and Always Sunny right now.
Yeah, that's a very accurate analogy. We're getting back to the dungeons. Maybe we'll stop talking about Groose tonight. But I think the dungeons, I'm mixing them because some of them I like, other ones are like Elden Volcano because
I was
they.
just about to say. I was just about to
I
say.
do not like Elden Volcanoes. I mean, I think that's very common, but I think the reasons some people list aren't the same reasons I have. Well, a lot of the reasons I have are the same, but getting into it with the dungeon designs compared to the older top-down Zelda, where the usual formula is go into dungeon, run around, find a map, find a compass, you find keys to open some doors. Eventually, you're bumping into a lot of things, obstacles that you can't get past because you've never seen them before. But then, oh, whoopsie daisy, you find an item that lets you deal with those, like a fire rod, can of Pocky, just or a hook shot, something like that.
Mhm.
And then after that, you go through the dungeon with that new item, and boom, you get the main dungeon key, and you fight a boss using that item and your sword to kill it. That's been the classic formula. For
Yeah.
this game, though, they changed it up because they were trying to make it more open-ended, and more up to how Zelda wants to do it, which has some positives and some negatives. I think I want to get into the negatives first before I at least give the praise it deserves. I think sticking. I've mentioned this for Tears of the Kingdom as well, but I think in trying to make things more open-ended for the player, I think they've lost a lot of the focus that the older games dungeons had that made them so charming in the first place.
Yeah. Um. I completely agree with you. Like, and the thing is that when you give the player so many choices, it becomes harder to choose. Like that's a real thing. Like the
Well, that
amount,
that and
like,
also when the choices aren't exactly equal as well.
but like that's a real thing of like if a person is presented with a bunch of options, it becomes a lot harder for them to choose because then they'll start weighing like there are a lot more pros and cons of choosing this than you know um to like go get like you have to weigh those options more because there's more of them. Like a great example for this game would be like, do I want to use the water echo or do I want to use the bat echo or do I want to use the cloud echo? Because it's like, well, if I use the water echo I can use more of them because it only takes one triangle, but I have to keep it connected to a thing. Where if I use the cloud echo I can just spawn it whenever wherever, but it takes a lot more triangles. But then I could use the bat echo to give me more vertical distance and long range without using as many echoes. And then you start to see where it goes, where it starts to spiral into like,
Yeah.
which do I choose? And
Well,
so
I don't know if that's my issue actually, because like the ones you just listed, especially the water and cloud echo, I really don't like them because of just how busted they are. Because like they have a couple of caveats, but for the most part, you can use those to skip massive portions of the dungeon or just the world in general. Because like a lot of the puzzles you can straight up just ignore if you're using the right echoes in this game, which sometimes feels fun because it feels like it was designed in that way to where they want you to take advantage of that, sort of like what you would do in Tears of the Kingdom for a lot of the shrines and whatnot.
but then there's
But
also
and Echoes of Wisdom, I just don't get that same feeling. It just kind of feels like, dang, they really should have thought this through. Because like, for example, Tears of the Kingdom, I know I keep bringing it up a lot, but it's a very similar structure that they're going for. Like in a lot of the shrines, they would restrict what you could actually use and like what items you had to make it to where you can just bring in some outside resources and clear a house with it.
yeah.
Echoes of Wisdom, they didn't do that as much, or they didn't restrict enough. Like Zora Temple, I really loved it, but I found out later on that a lot of people very easily cheesed it, and it wasn't even like having to go out of your way. They just used the Spider Echo and got the main key early, to like skip a lot of the fun puzzles and whatnot and just immediately go to the boss. Like
Mhm.
for something that could have very easily been fixed by, oh, here's the ceiling is a surface that the spiders can't attach to. Boom, solved.
Yeah, no, that's definitely like with making it so open-ended, there's a lot of possibility. Like you can't play test for all of that because someone's gonna have that different thought process of, oh, let me use the spider here and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
and some parts of that are really fun. Other parts though is like they really should have limited it because it was just way too open
like either make it to where
without it like actually having good reasons for being open, except for like I feel like the Deku shrubs dungeon, that one was actually really well designed. But other ones like Elden Volcano, instead of having solid items to use, it was just kind of a very straight linear path where like okay, it was slightly open and that like I wasn't restricted in a couple of these areas by having to get an item, but like I just kind of jumped over obstacles with beds and clouds.
yeah,
So like I wasn't having fun. It was just a very linear path up.
yeah, I feel like it definitely does work and doesn't work, but I think the reason why I have a big problem, like so much like problems with the open design in this game instead of like Tears of the Kingdom, is like Tears of the Kingdom is like the 3D Zelda format kind of fits that because you have like so much more you can like do with the environments and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Where with 2D Zelda, like top down Zeldas, a very big appeal is like because you're limited to like such like scope and stuff like that with both map and like perspective, you have to get really creative with the puzzles and stuff like that. And so when you are able to break a lot of these puzzles really easily, it feels less of like you are able to do a lot and more of like the developers really didn't like try and like think this through and stuff like that.
Yeah, because like, well, you could make an argument for, oh, just don't use like the water or cloud echoes because they're so overpowered. At the
Why
same time, though, like if the option is presented to you, why wouldn't you use it? If
why
you
should
had to go into a fight against someone with a gun, would you choose the knife or would you choose the shotgun?
Yeah, and it's like, why should I, have to use, why should I have to restrict myself and stop myself from using something when the devs instead could have just tried to make it more balanced and stuff like that?
Exactly.
Like, I don't think water is as busted as cloud because you do have to connect it, and if it's not connected, it, screws up. But cloud is just straight up broken.
Yeah, yeah, especially once you have the max number of triangles from upgrading Try.
Yeah.
But think before we get into that, I do want to mention some of the good parts of the dungeons because there are a lot of the dungeons do have a couple of puzzles that like I feel like were intentionally designed to where they could be open and you can find some other solutions. Like in one of the later ice dungeons, there was a puzzle where like you had to hit two switches at the same time.
Mhm.
Now there was, I think, an intended method of like using a couple of the things in the environment around to hit both of the switches. But what I ended up doing is I took one of the little spinning enemies that went back and forth. I created an ice path for it and then a blocker so it would hit it and then go back and forth on the switch. And then I would just jump on the switch in time with when it went back on the switch, and that actually solved the puzzle. And that's what I liked about that part because like it felt still restrictive enough to where I didn't have just complete easy control. So like let's say just throw something that constantly jumped up and down on it easily because there was like water surrounding me, so I couldn't just do that easily. But instead, I had to think outside of the box and use ice to like make something that could stand on it, and then I had to make sure to use a stationary type of enemy so it would actually wouldn't fall off as well, or not stationary, but one that went in a specific path. I had to actually think on it a little. It wasn't just I used a couple clouds and I jumped over the obstacles and puzzle.
Yeah. I I completely get what you mean. Like I think the open design works when it comes to like traversing the world and stuff like that in combat. I think it works really well there because you can approach bunch of situations differently like that. It's like, do I want to fight this enemy by just summoning a really overpowered enemy, or do I want to fuck with it and make it experience pain beyond any mortal comprehension? Um,
Yeah, I mean, I did enjoy the combat, like there are obviously more overpowered options than others, especially once you unlock the Lionel. But that one is kind of gate kept till the end of the game, so it isn't
Yeah.
that busted. But a lot of the enemy, you do have a lot of variety with the enemies in the game. I will give it that for how you want to approach combat.
Because you've got that, you've got your echoes, and then you've also got the automatons. You've got you've also got hero mode. So there's a bunch of ways you can approach combat. And I really like that because it also really helps with like it makes it interesting to fight the bosses. I really like how that's done in this game.
Oh yeah.
The
Um,
bosses low key are like there are a few stinkers, but I really like some of the bosses in this game. Like not only do we get a return of Volvagia, there's also this really cool Yeti boss in one of the dungeons. That's the whole gimmick is like you have to use fire or ice enemies against it depending on what mode it's in. Like I think that's a sick.
yeah, no, that was a really good boss fight. I also kind of like the spider one as well. Like it was a bit gimmicky at times, but I like the build up with it, with the story, even if it was just kind of a simple build up. That
Yeah.
and the ways you like kind of run a timer at times to use certain element, use the electric element against it to like knock it down, while it was also sending a bunch of enemies at you. So it wasn't easy. Just like you could place down a bunch of enemies and spam one certain attack. You had to like kind of figure out how to maneuver around it.
Yeah, the only thing I just found like getting to hit the electric element thing, I found that way too like finicky and stuff like that. And it just would not really work a lot of the times.
Yeah, that it was a bit iffy. I think I've seen speedruns where I've seen the pattern and how it actually goes down. I'm like, oh, okay. But it wasn't like, very clearly telegraphed enough to someone who's never done the fight before.
Yeah, and I like a lot of the bosses in this game. I think they're fun. With there's only like two I don't like, and it's like I don't okay, I don't like the spider. Like I think the spider's alright. I just have a few problems with it. The only one that I don't really like is the fish. I don't like the fish. And Zelda can really never get fish bosses right.
Yeah, no, especially like Glorb and like Link's Awakening. I don't think even the remake was enough to fix that boss because like you literally ran in there with flippers, you swiped at it like 10 times really quickly, and it couldn't do any attacks, and you killed it immediately.
Yeah, and like at least in this one, it's a little harder, but it's still pretty easy, especially when you learn you you can just like hit the spikes above it whenever you want. You don't have to wait for it. You can just do that whenever.
Yeah. Well, I think depending on how you put the spikes above it, it could make it interesting. But again, some more restrictions in place on like maybe what type of echoes you used or like categories of echoes
I
that were
think
making the environment to where some of your more busted echoes wouldn't work definitely would have helped.
something I wish they would have done is like in maybe some of the later dungeons have a thing where when you enter the boss, maybe some magic bullshit happens and you lose some of your triangles. So you're restricted to like what echoes you could use.
Oh yeah, no, that would have been pretty good.
Because it would have made sense both story wise and it would have I think that would have been really cool because it's like, okay, now I have to think more instead of just spamming the highest rank Lizalfos to jump and hit my enemies.
Oh man, there's a strong enemy for me. Lionel, go!
It's like just Photoshop Zelda over that one Eminem meme where he's like throwing the thing at you and it's just like it's like what's the word? It's like behold Lionel.
No,
Like that
I feel like whenever I was looking at a certain enemy, I was thinking of how I wanted to mess them up. So I was looking through my deck like I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh, and then picked the 5 specific enemies that countered it. Like I was picking the pieces of Exodia. It's like I summoned the legendary Exodia.
No, yeah, that's what it feels like so many times. It's like oh, that's a tough enemy. Go, Lozalfo's commander.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be fun at times, but again, I think this game was definitely a step in the right direction. But I feel like maybe let's have another entry with Zelda, because again, we know they're gonna do more with Link, especially in the 3D space. So maybe let Zelda have some more time to shine.
I they've kind of said that they're gonna try and make Zelda games with this super open like idea of like playing, where you have a bunch of options. And I'm not opposed to it, but after playing Link Between Worlds and having that sort of
Structure.
that structure and classic Zelda style of like you need this one thing to make it through. I kind of want that back.
Yeah, because when you have the puzzles based on like you can go in and everything that you have can be used to solve it, it makes it to where they can't have a greater focus on
And
the
it
puzzle, or
makes
the puzzles can't be as focused, I feel, and a lot of the enemy design as well. To
and
where like since you can't design it around this one thing and it has to be everything, you can't really focus on it and like improve upon it.
if
You have
you
to like
do-
dumb it down some so it works with multiple different tools.
yeah, if you try to cover for every option, you end up covering for no option.
Yeah, yeah. If you don't specialize in one thing, then you're a jack of all trades, master of none. You know.
Yeah. And the thing is like honestly too like some of the because you're able to solve some of these like so easily and stuff like that, a lot of them become like a blur for me, like, and I didn't play this game too long ago, like I played it like right when it came out, which wasn't too long ago, but like the only dungeons I really remember is this the one part of the Gerudo temple, the boss of the ice dungeon, and then the just main room of the Zora temple. Like I don't remember a lot of the
Yeah,
dungeon
well, I think
layout.
some of the earlier ones are a bit easier to remember because they actually had some more towns and characters connected to them. The dungeons for the later half they had some characters, but I didn't feel as connected. I feel part of the reason maybe is just like the unlock process for them was a lot quicker and easier, whereas like with the especially the two of the beginning dungeons, you got a lot more closely involved with the town.
Yeah, it was a lot more story heavy.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was still maybe one like with the Gorons that I enjoyed to some degree in the later half of the game, but not as much as the like first two, especially with the Zora and the Gerudos,
Hmm.
especially the Zoras as well, because like their music theming as well was really nice.
Yeah, and it's like I I do wish I remembered some of the dungeons better because the dungeons are some of the best parts
Yeah,
of Zelda in general.
yeah.
Like,
Well, I do want to
and
give a shout out to at least like the one in the Faron Wastelands, that dungeon, because a couple of the other dungeons did exhibit this as well, but I felt like this one was the best open design concept
mhm,
because like it had multiple different entrances you could go from, and you had a goal that was like kind of shifting across in the dungeon to where like you couldn't just find a main boss key and immediately go beat it or like skip a lot of the puzzles. Like it was open, but it still had enough of a focus in those six individual entrances that all ended up connecting together that like I really enjoyed it overall.
mhm.
Like I felt
Yeah,
like it was a very well designed dungeon. If they do a lot more of that in the future with top down Zelda, I'm not gonna mind the open design as much.
yeah. I just
Whereas Elden Volcano, I literally just went up.
yeah, no, I completely agree. And I just like I know that this isn't really a super fair comparison since I did play Link Between Worlds more recently, but I can remember a lot of those dungeons and like the puzzles and stuff within them. And I don't know. Maybe it's just because I played Link Between Worlds recently, but they're really gonna have to like lock in for the next Zelda game that's just like open world design for me to be like completely on board with
Yeah.
like getting rid of
Yeah,
the
well, I think it's the thing with Zelda games. Like they do, a lot of them have a lot of great aspects, but because of like one design philosophy that they tend to be a little too strict on, the game suffers for it. Like especially with story in most Zelda games, because they're doing gameplay over story. Which yeah, I can't agree with that, but because they're so strict on it, the story kind of tends to suffer.
Mhm.
They could have had a better game overall, but now you end up with like Tears of the Kingdom story that talks about the same plot point in four different dungeons of Secret Stones, Demon King, Ancient War, Psycho Mantis. Oh wait, not that last one.
Yeah, no. I mean I really want to do a Tears of the Kingdom video someday. I just I the more and more they try and make I like the open design philosophy in Breath of the Wild. I think it works well, but I just I feel like the more they go on, the more this is going to become like both tiring and just it's not going to be as good as the first time. That's my big worry
Yeah, I
because
think they can still keep the magic with it, but they need to learn to like which parts they need to narrow down and make more linear, and which parts they can leave open. Like which parts are fun to have open, like exploring the world, maybe the dungeons, maybe not so much.
yeah, because like I love so many of the dungeons in these games. Like, what's the one with Koloktos and Skyward Sword?
Oh, I can't remember the name, but that is like one of my favorites.
That is
I,
one
I
of the
never I
dungeons.
never remember the names of Zelda dungeons because they're
Well,
always some like weird
I remember
gibberish,
I remember the
unless they're simple like water temple.
yeah, I remember the looks. I don't remember the names, but that is one of the best dungeons in the series, and it's like we haven't really gotten something like that. Like something that I could really say is like a competitor for one of the best dungeons in the series for in a while. Like maybe the Wind Temple from Tears of the Kingdom, like that one was really good and used the open design philosophy well. Um, but like, and I know this is gonna be my hot take. I feel like all but that dungeon is like pretty bad. I don't like. I think Elden Volcano is the worst. Which
And and the Echoes of Wisdom.
Tears of the Kingdom
Oh, okay, okay. I mean, yeah, when he said Elden Volcano, I was like, are you talking about my Elden Volcano or that Elden Volcano? Because
or that Elden Volcano or that
are you
Elden
talking
Volcano.
about that Ganondorf or that Ganondorf?
So wait, you're telling me your Elden Volcano, and your Elden Volcano? Are there any more Elden Volcanoes I need to know about?
Man,
Yeah, but
I want you to capture Elden Volcano. Which one?
what's your
It's a Spider-Man meme. They're all pointing at each other.
what's your favorite? If you're such a Zelda fan, then what's your favorite Zelda dungeon? Elden Volcano? Yeah, that's my bad. I narrowed it down too much.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. With the dungeons, just getting. Now we need to find more focus.
Yeah,
Again,
we're
we have
adopting
constantly brung up Tears of the Kingdom in this episode. Half of this has probably just been a Tears of the Kingdom episode.
we're adapting the open design philosophy into our episode.
Yeah, we're going more open with the topics. Maybe
Yeah,
for the worse right now, but now we're getting our focus back, which I
yeah,
hope they do.
yeah,
Uh
and that sort of like leads into something I wanted to talk about too. Is like where do we take the Zelda franchise from here, really?
oh yeah.
Because I for one, I really want to see more two top-down Zeldas because I think the top-down Zelda games alone are just super underrated, and I know the reason why. You know, the 3D Zeldas are the 3D Zeldas. They're the ones that get all the
Yeah, I
attention.
mean, seeing the sales of Tears of the Kingdom versus Echoes of Wisdom says a lot.
Yeah, and it's like that's fine because you know most people are going to be like most casual players that aren't super big into Zelda are going to be gravitating towards that, you know, big 3D Zelda game instead of this small side adventure with like Zelda and stuff like that, which is a shame because it's a great good game. But
Yeah, well, in full fairness, also Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are probably better games, but that's a topic for another day.
yeah, um, but I want to see more top-down Zeldas. I just, as we have been saying this episode, we need more focus. You need to like, I
This was a good starting point for
I
Top Down
would
Zelda to
yes.
return. You know.
It's just that I'm already able to see in the first attempt of a open design top-down Zelda, I'm already able to see a bunch of these cracks forming, and we got to fix that, or I feel like we kind of just got to go back to the standard formula, because I mean they've shown they can do that standard formula in a top-down Zelda game that's for modern audiences. That's what Link's Awakening was.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was a remake, but it was a really good remake, and it kept a lot of the, you know, stuff that was in the base game of Link's Awakening. And it's like,
While improving upon it as
yeah,
well.
while improving upon it, it's like I I I really like the standard Zelda formula, even if it can get a little tiring sometimes. But you
Yeah, I mean,
know,
I understand why they've wanted to change it up after so much time because like they did do they were on a streak of very similar games for a while. Not
mhm.
like Pokemon similar, but
Yeah,
like a very bog standard formula. Well, except for the story, they've generally kind of just kept that the same for majority of them, with a
yeah,
couple exceptions.
yeah. Um, which we'll get into the story of this game a little later, but
since we don't want to spoil it.
yeah, but I just wish we could I don't know. I just would really
Yeah,
like.
I think before we get into some of our last goods, I just want to say, like I was saying with their focus, like with like Tears of the Kingdom story example, and for Echoes of Wisdom, and I I liked how they wanted to try a more open design with the top-down Zelda, but in doing that, they shifted too far away from some of the original roots of what made 2D Zelda so enjoyable.
Which was the story.
No, not story, not story. I'm talking about
Um,
the
yeah,
linear focus of a
I'm
lot of dungeons.
I'm just messing with you.
I was about to say, dude, what, are we talking about the same games? Did
Yeah.
we play the same game, Connor? Maybe you are
No.
an echo, a false copy,
Yeah, exactly.
a not good copy, especially according to my Green Lantern friends that don't like yellow,
Yeah.
the color yellow.
But no, I agree. I do really I've said it enough. I like the linear gameplay of some of the older Zeldas, and I have played a lot of older Zeldas. Actually, no, that's a lie. That's a complete lie. Um, I'm lying to you. I'm spreading misinformation. But I do like the older formula of some of those older Zelda games. And I like Breath of the Wild. I like Tears of the Kingdom. I like Echoes of Wisdom. I think they're all great games. It's just I
Some of
feel like
them they just don't have that same magic
yeah,
that the old.
I still retain to this game that to this day that Breath of the Wild has a sort of level of magic that Tears of the Kingdom and sorry, that Echoes of Wisdom just can't really like replicate.
Well, I think also the magic is also just like the older Zelda games, not even like the other top-down ones. Like that magic as well, just with the dungeons, the exploration. Well,
Yeah,
I will give credit for Echo's wisdom on this. Like, I did like a lot of the exploration of just the world, especially like with the rifts popping up. They did make it to where it was structured in that sense for a couple of the areas, but also with those individual areas, I like the ways you could approach them in that sense. Because like the one thing I wanted to be open is the world where I can just explore every nook and cranny. Because older Zelda games are fun, but like Echoes of Wisdom was really fun in the sense that I could run around as easily and freely as I wanted. Whereas with some of the older ones, it was kind of hard to navigate the world, especially when like, oh, this main part was designed to be gone through with three different items.
yeah,
So if I haven't unlocked fast travel yet and I want to get it through, I need to use these three different items. And if I'm getting lost, then it gets kind of repetitive.
yeah. No,
Whereas Echoes
I
of Wisdom, I go bed, 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 go.
yeah, and I like that a lot too. Like I think I agree with you. Traversing the world is probably one of the best parts. I remember when the game first came out, there's a lot of videos of people like breaking the game of like well not breaking it, but like finding out really fast ways to get around the map using some echoes and stuff like that. And I'm
I
like,
like how everyone just immediately was like the horse is garbage.
yeah, the horse, no worth,
Like
no.
dang, Impa put all that work into giving you that gift of a horse just for it to be absolutely outclassed by everything.
Yep.
Poor Impa.
Um. Yeah, but no, I love traversing the. I think the open design world, like philosophy, works really well with traversing. Um, and I think if we can keep some of that, like there our main sort of complaints is just like we like the open world and in the world, just focus more in on making the dungeons more like actually like puzzles instead of like go cloud and you win.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I
that
guess let's get into some positives before we get into our last big one, the story, which will probably have some spoilers.
yeah.
Did also want to mention one of the biggest things we got mentioning, like the riffs. Like I really did like the concept of the riffs that in the still world.
Yeah, no, the riffs are like probably one of my favorite parts of the game. They're sort of like they kind
The
of
new original part of Zelda,
mhm.
of top down
They remind
Zelda.
me a lot of shrines in the sense of like they're these small little puzzles you can find in the world.
Oh yeah, especially because they pop up everywhere, and they're a lot of fun to explore. It kind of has some of that focus I was talking about. I mean, a lot of them are very simple. It's like go to point A, go to point B to collect these little orb dudes. But I mean, it was a lot of fun, and the worlds were just actually kind of interesting too. Sort of like the distorted world in Pokemon Platinum with Garatina, and the
Yeah,
ways they were all just very jumbled up and messed up, and just have the sense of yeah, this is wrong.
yeah. It also gave me this was sort of like more retrospective, but looking back on it, it's a lot like the low rule too. It's a lot like that.
Oh yeah, but it is like the Dark World and Low Rule of the like past games, but it's like it's very own unique take because it's a lot more messed up than I think Low Rule and the Dark World ever were.
Yeah. Um and I really like it. And like some of them are actually like kind of hard or not hard, but like they make you scratch your head a bit. Like I remember one I was stuck in forever cuz I couldn't find the last little bit I had to get, and then I was like I like decided to climb up something. It's like, "Oh, it's up here." That's like a like really good hiding spot.
Oh yeah, yeah, they were fun, and they made exploring the world feel rewarding in the same way that shrines did. To where
Mhm.
like I would find a rift and I'd be like, ooh, I want to do this because not only will it upgrade try to where I can like maybe have more triangles or summons are a little cheaper, but also it unlocks a part of the world I couldn't see before. So maybe it has some cool new characters that were like trapped in that rift that now they can maybe help me out, give me a useful item, or start a fun new side quest. Which
Yeah.
I did like a lot of the side quests for this game as well. A lot of them did have some personality to them.
Yeah, no, exactly. My favorite side quest is with the stamp guy.
Yes, it all goes back to Stamp Guy and the Goose.
The stamp, yes,
Trust us, we're very original. We're very original people.
we definitely are. I mean, I'm not original because I'm an Echo,
Oh
but
yeah.
but that's how it goes. But do we want to get into story now?
Oh yeah. Now we don't want to preface this with we do have some spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled on the game, thank you for watching the video. Please like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah. But with the
But
spoiler,
because with the spoilers, they did do some new stuff with the story that was actually kind of interesting. Like,
yeah.
which was very surprising because we thought it was going to be bog standard Zelda, other than the fact that Zelda was replaced with Link. But no, they actually did some original stuff in the story that I feel like deserves praise. So we are going to mention it.
Hmm.
But again, it is a spoiler. So if you want to see that for yourself, please go play Echoes of Wisdom. Even though we've been criticizing this game a lot this episode, it was still a fantastic game. We really enjoyed it.
Yeah, but with that out of the way, um,
Three, two, and one.
one Ganon did 9/11 twice.
Okay, yeah, no.
It was really interesting to see this very interesting take on the Zelda formula to go into 9/11 and stuff like that. It was a really interesting direction to take in.
Oh yeah, especially when the third tower echo popped up.
Yeah, it was actually like no difficulty in rebuilding them because
Yeah, but
Zelda.
getting into an actual serious
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah. But
So Ganon isn't actually the main villain. He does pop up. Surprisingly, you fight him in the beginning, and
he
yeah,
died.
yeah, he's washed. You fold him like laundry.
Find out your goat is washed.
Yeah, yeah, because he shows up only a little bit in the game, like two times, but it isn't even actual Ganon. It's an echo, which does make me kind of question what happened to actual Ganon in the first place.
It kind of just implies that like Null killed him,
Yeah,
which
because instead of Ganon, uh, we have a new villain in Null. Because like that middle part of the Triforce that's empty, that actually has representation in the form of new lore or a new lore bomb with a Null, like emptiness, the void. Because when the goddesses of Hyrule like made it, they covered up this void area that had Null in it, and he's constantly been trying to tear at the world because he wants a state of nothingness.
hmm and I will always respect like the Zelda games more that have either like that will have different villains. Like good
Yeah, especially because
example,
Ganon and Ganondorf have just been so overdone. Like
yeah.
they're cool,
Uh
they're iconic, but please do something original with them if you're gonna
that
use them.
or yeah, like it's either that or like do small twists on them. A good example, Minish Cap, the fact that Ganon isn't in the game at all and it's Vati, I love that. I think that's really cool.
Oh yeah, then along with Four Swords, the game that's connected to Minish Cap.
Yeah, or Link Between Worlds. I know I brought it up a lot, but Ganon is not really the main bad guy here, and it's a really interesting thing. I really like the story of Link Between Worlds. But no, I think it's super interesting what they do with Null in this game,
Yeah,
and
well,
I'm
especially the
really
way they set up the mystery too, because like Ganon being at the very beginning, especially if you're like a veteran Zelda player or have played other Zelda games, is kind of like, okay, Ganon's been defeated, but now this mysterious force popped up. This probably wasn't him. Who's doing this? What's happening? How do we have to face this as Zelda? Because this feels like an adventure that definitely couldn't have just been handled by Link. I mean, he
yeah,
does help at the end, but he's kind of just there. He's a funny guy.
yeah. But I really, really like I respect that they went with something different, and the fact that like you know it doesn't waste any time. It doesn't build up this thing of like, oh, is Ganon actually the bad guy? No, like he's gone like pretty much immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Noel is just pretty interesting as well because his build up as well. Like after you defeat Ganon a second time and learn, for it is an undeniable fact that he is washed. You see these weird claws that grab Link and steal him away again, and you're like, what is that? What grabbed him? Because like, yeah, you just beat Ganon, so like, what in the world is above Ganon?
Yeah, dude, I remember when I got to that point in the game and I beat Ganon, I was like, that's not it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's really cool. The only thing that I don't like about Null is its design. I think its design, Loki,
No,
real.
I actually do very much agree with you, and I was literally about to say that as well.
Like you see the giant hand grab Link, and I'm like picturing like, oh, this is gonna be some giant eldritch horror, and no, it's just Big Ball.
Orb,
It's just the
dude. I
orb.
was kind of thinking like it would have been like Nightmare from Kirby,
Oh
but
yeah,
instead we just got Dark Matter, not the cool sword fighting Dark Matter. No, the Orb Dark Matter.
yeah. I was hoping for some like weird eldritch abomination, but I mean, like I get what they're going for. You know, like if you damage Null, you see that it's kind of made up of like what looked like the Try. And it's like, okay, so that's kind of cool. It's like a corrupted version of a Try or something. That's why it can create echoes and stuff like that.
Or
But
more so, it's kind of been like stealing the Try's power.
yeah, like it's something like that. And
Yeah,
I think
but
but like you could have used that and made it like you could have gotten the same idea across by having it be like this weird mesh of like I think something that would have been super sick is have because it can echo stuff, have it look like this weird mesh
make
of
it like a chimera, like it can summon parts onto itself.
yeah, or make it like this weird meshy like mixture of like all the bosses or different
Yeah,
enemies
I
and
don't know.
stuff.
I actually like the final boss itself. Like, I actually had a lot of fun with
Oh
that
no,
boss.
the gameplay is really fun.
Yeah, it's
I
just the design is so boring, especially like with that build up to it. They didn't show its face; they only showed little peeks of it.
mhm.
They should have. When you don't show what it is, and then you just give me an orb right after, I'm not like, oh my god, it's an orb. I'm like, oh, it's a
Another
ball.
Another cool idea I just sort of thought of. Do you know? Do you You've seen Last Airbender, right?
Yeah, yeah, I've watched all of it.
Do you know that one spirit that like can change its face and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, I think I know what you're talking
It's
about.
something like that, like where it can like shift its like different bodies to be like
Yeah,
shift different
well,
parts.
especially because like in the game, it did mimic a lot of people, including Zelda herself, to
Yeah,
like copy their appearances.
like literally the way you get to the boss is by following a fake Zelda. So
Yeah.
like why not have it use that shape shifting power and stuff like that and have it be like some weird bomb like I'm sort of thinking like there's this one what boss is it? It's from Kirby, surprise like not surprisingly, it's from
Dude,
Kirby.
we keep bringing up Kirby for these bosses so much. Well,
There's
Kirby
one
does have some
boss
really good
in
bosses,
Kirby
so
there's just one boss in Kirby where I know Kirby Robobot when you defeat the like fake versions of Dark Matter and Sectonia in the True Arena.
oh yeah,
Um
that or Meta Nightmare.
yeah, well that but like when they're dying, they're like sort of like the the goop will like show their bodies. Do something like that where like you can see parts of like the boss enemies like morphing out of it or something.
Yeah, they did it in a couple parts to some degree with a couple of the attacks. Like I remember, Noel used like some of the Stone Talus's attacks and stuff, which like
Yeah.
wiped away a lot of my echoes because it was a big wide sweeping attack, which I had to back off of, but my echoes couldn't. Like again, gameplay wise, it was a fantastic fight.
Oh, it's a cool fight. My really only issue is that you spend so much time building it up, and then it's just a giant orb.
They pondered the orb a little too much.
Yeah, and like again, like I think the boss is excuse me. I think the boss is well designed. I think everything about it is really good besides its design. And when you spend so much time as you said earlier, Brewer, when you spend so much time building it up and it's just orb, I'm like, that's really
Yeah,
under.
because the only other thing with the orb is like it had like a little face to it, I guess, like a little mask. But that and it had some claws sticking out of it that you damaged. Like, okay,
It literally felt like I was just fighting a corrupted version of a Minior from Pokemon.
yeah, that's kind of accurate actually. Yeah, but I think beyond that though, Null as a character was great. I'd like to maybe see a return of it, that or possibly like look into the concept a little more of the nothingness.
Yeah, like this game brings up a lot of cool new concepts and stuff like that to Zelda. That
Dude, now that I think about it, a Tears of the Kingdom style game with like messed up riffs, sort of like in Echoes of Wisdom, that would actually be really
I would
fire.
see. Um, and I remember recently, I think they placed Echoes of Wisdom in the Fallen timeline. Um, like Nintendo, like they came out like, oh, here's where Echoes of Wisdom is placed. It's in the Fallen timeline between I think the first Zelda game and Four Swords Adventure, maybe.
Yeah, I
I
don't know.
think
The Zelda timeline is something I just like. I look at and then I'm like, okay, that's cool. Something that makes sense, and then I'm like, okay, I'm not even gonna try to fathom
decipher.
why that's the way it is.
Yeah, and it's like I don't want to bring it. I really don't care that much about the Zelda timeline. I just think it's cool, but it's like I would really like to see, as you said, I'd like to see this concept of the nothingness and null explored more because I think it's really cool. I just again just bad visual design.
Yeah, maybe if it returns, just give it something more, man.
With the sauce.
Where is the sauce? Where is the cook? The cook is not in the kitchen.
Yeah, it's like, but I think that's about where we're at. Did
Yeah,
you?
this is about where some of our closing
I
points
do.
are going to
Yeah.
be.
I'll try to. We'll try to be more positive because I don't want to end up on a big negative rant
Yeah, because
about.
again, Noel was a lot of fun as a fight, and like
It was
story wise, it was very interesting
yeah,
as
and
well.
I like everything about Null. Literally, like everything besides its design. That's the only downside. I
Yeah,
still think it's a great fight, a great build up, great story presence, everything. But
yeah,
I'll go first if you don't mind.
yeah. Go ahead.
So, um, I know this episode might have seemed like we were kind of just hating on the game a bit, but at least for me, I can't really speak for Brewer, but I at least really like this game. I think it's a great new entry into the Zelda series. It's just we're passionate. The reason we talk so much about these flaws is because we're passionate about Zelda and we want to see it do good. And so these sort of like negative things are out of love. Like I do really like this game, and I think it's great. The open world gameplay, when it comes to traversing it, is fun. I love the puzzle aspects that you can do with some of the echoes. The combat with being able to have so many different options of how to attack is really fun and cool. And I like the characters. I like this. I think the story's pretty good. Not the best, obviously, because modern Zelda's sort of gone more away from story than before, and even then, the story wasn't like a huge excuse me, wasn't a huge aspect of Zelda games, but it was still a pretty big part of some of the older ones. But yeah, I really like this game. I think I definitely would recommend it. I think it's great. It's the first time we get to play as Zelda, and like there's just so much charm with both the art style and the animations and stuff like that. Like the fact that as we said before, with like Zelda's personality, like you can really feel it come through in some certain aspects. But I really like this game. I think it's great, and you guys should all play it.
Oh, great points, Connor. I think my closing thoughts on this is going to be Echoes of Wisdom has a lot of great positives to it, and its strengths lies within like its charm. Its music is really good too. We didn't really get into that much, but like I'll talk about it in a later video this year that you guys should definitely watch. But the music did very well to pair with the world to give it this nice ambience as well, especially like making it feel like Zelda's adventure with some new original tracks that are like revamps of old tracks.
Hmm.
I loved exploring the world as well. It was very interesting. It felt like the Hyrule we knew, but like with it was new enough to where it still didn't feel completely familiar. I love the new gameplay systems as well, especially with the echoes. I just hope in the future it could be expanded upon a little more, especially with a couple of nitpicks too with like the menus and stuff. Like they should have definitely had like a favorite options in a menu. Like I know in interviews they listed the reason they didn't is because they wanted people to scroll through the menus and find some other options to be curious about. But I feel like that did inadvertently do a little more damage than having to scroll through all of them in the middle of a fight. Again, I think Echoes of Wisdom, it is a fantastic game, like a lot of other Zelda games. It just needs more focus. It needs to be more refined. This was a good step in the right direction, and they did a lot of things great, but they just need to find that balance just to make it the masterpiece we're looking for. But yeah, I think those are my thoughts. All my other thoughts have been kind of listed throughout the episode, so I just wanted to get my main focus there. But I think, audience, your main focus right now should be liking and subscribing this video.
Yeah, and comment what your thoughts on Echoes of Wisdom are. We would love to hear them, or what Zelda game you'd like to see us cover next.
Oh yeah,
Um, but with that being said, I think you've used up all the triangles, so I'm gonna go.
yeah. Connor is again. He's officially dead,
Yeah,
and his
the
echo is gone now. I'm not resummoning him. The Lionel is too strong,
yeah.
and
Well,
Connor costs 2 triangles.
yeah.
Too
Well,
expensive.
it was a nice. It was a nice. I guess this was a nice last episode for me to be on.
Connor is dead now.
Oh
Bye,
wait,
Connor.
wait. I have one last thing. Here's a fairy bottle in case you guys need to use Connor again for content.
Yeah. And maybe you guys comment if you want Connor to not be dead. That or your favorite echo that isn't the Connor echo.
Yeah,
But with that, thank you for watching this very interesting episode of Fetch Quest. I've
yeah.
been your main host, Brewer, with my
I've
fellow
been
co-host, Connor.
I've been
Th-
your Echo Connor.
yes, Echo Connor. Thank you for watching. Good night, everybody.